There is a moment, sometimes quiet, sometimes gut-wrenching, when you realize that no one is coming to save you. It sounds dramatic, but it's not. It's one of the most liberating truths you'll ever stumble upon. It's the moment you decide to stop waiting for permission, for validation, for someone else to choose you. Instead, you turn inward, you get honest with yourself, and you say, I'm choosing me now. Doesn't mean you don't love others. It doesn't mean you stop showing up, but it does mean that you stop abandoning yourself in the process. Choosing yourself is not about arrogance, it's about alignment. It's about finally stepping into the life you were meant to live, not the one you've been performing to please the crowd. For many of us, the idea of putting ourselves first feels uncomfortable, especially if you were raised to be the caretaker, the achiever, the peacekeeper. You probably learned early that your value came from how useful you were to others. You became a master at reading the room, adjusting yourself to keep everyone happy, and apologizing for taking up space. So when someone says, make yourself a priority, it doesn't always feel empowering. It feels selfish, even shameful. But here's the hard truth. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot build a whole life while treating yourself as an afterthought. Choosing yourself is not a betrayal of others. It's the beginning of belonging to yourself. And it's not always a bold movie montage moment. Sometimes choosing yourself is a quiet refusal, a no that no one hears but you, a boundary set with shaky hands, a walk taken alone when the noise gets too loud. It's canceling plans so you can sleep. It's applying for the job even though you're scared. It's showing up at the gym, the therapy appointment, the studio, again and again without needing someone to clap. It's the everyday decisions that whisper, I matter too. That is power. And it often doesn't look like power from the outside, but inside it's a revolution. You will disappoint people when you choose yourself. That's inevitable. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're finally doing something honest. The people who benefited from your silence, your compliance, your burnout, they won't all clap for your growth, and that's okay. That's part of it. The more you practice self-prioritization, the less you'll seek approval from those who only loved the version of you that kept shrinking to fit. And while that grief is real, the freedom on the other side is even more real. You begin to attract people who respect your boundaries, honor your energy, and recognize your worth, not because of what you give them, but because of who you are. So if you've been waiting for a sign to start putting yourself first, this is it. Your life is not a rehearsal. You don't need to earn rest, joy, peace, or love. You are not a machine. You are a human being with a soul that needs tending. Choosing yourself isn't a one-time act. It's a practice, a daily, deliberate promise to show up for you, not perfectly, but faithfully. And the beauty of it is, once you start showing up for yourself, you'll find you have more to give to the world, not less. Because when you're lit from within, you don't burn out. You shine. We live in a culture that equates visibility with value. We've been taught that if people don't see your hustle, it doesn't count. That if you're not constantly posting, promoting, or producing, then you must not be doing much at all. But the truth is, some of the most powerful, transformative work we do happens in the silence, not in the spotlight, not on the timeline, not at the conference or the mic. It happens when we're alone, working through the mess, sitting with the doubt, and choosing not to quit. Silence is not the absence of effort. It's the presence of something deeper, something sacred. There's a quiet kind of strength that comes from doing the work without broadcasting it. Not because you're hiding, but because you're healing. Because you know this chapter isn't ready for public consumption. And maybe, just maybe, because you've grown tired of performing. When you stop explaining yourself to everyone, you start listening to yourself more. That's when the work gets honest. That's when it gets real. Silence allows you to hear your own voice again, without all the noise of expectations, comparison, and approval. That voice may be shaky at first, but it's yours, and it's the one that matters most. Let's be honest, being silent is hard, especially in a world that rewards visibility. There's discomfort in not being acknowledged, not being praised, not being seen. But what if we redefined success? What if we saw discipline, consistency, and integrity behind the scenes as the real victories? Because they are. Waking up early to work on your dream without telling anyone, that's strength. Holding a boundary without making a scene, that's strength. Choosing not to defend yourself against gossip because you know your truth, that's strength. Silence doesn't mean you're doing nothing. It means you're doing something meaningful without the need for a witness. The irony is, the deeper your silence, the louder your results speak later. When you focus inward, away from performance, you begin to sharpen your skill, deepen your purpose, and trust your own process. That trust is what carries you through the doubts, through the why am I doing this and the no one even notices. It's what anchors you when no one claps, when no one responds, when it feels like your effort is invisible. But invisible doesn't mean insignificant. You're not behind. You're just building. You're preparing. You're becoming, and becoming is quiet work. There's also a kind of protection in silence. Sometimes your ideas are too tender to expose, your dreams too raw to withstand the opinions of others. And that's okay. Not everything needs to be shared in real time. Some things deserve to grow in the dark for a while, like seeds underground. You don't rush the seed. You don't dig it up to prove it's growing. You water it, you give it time, you trust it. That's what working in silence is. It's watering your future without demanding instant blooms. And then there's the peace. There's a deep, grounding peace that comes when you stop performing and start aligning. When your actions match your values and your time matches your priorities. When you don't need to announce your every move to feel worthy. Peace like that can't be bought and it can't be faked. It comes from knowing you're showing up for yourself even when no one's watching. It's the peace of self-respect, of quiet momentum, of knowing you're walking your path, not someone else's. So no, silence isn't emptiness. It's not failure. It's not weakness. Silence is strength. It's presence, it's maturity. It's knowing that the loudest lives aren't always the most meaningful, and that the most powerful work you'll ever do won't be seen right away. It'll be felt by you first, and then by the world when it's ready. Until then, keep going. Keep building, keep becoming, quietly, fiercely, faithfully. We often think of boundaries as walls. Something rigid or cold, something that keeps people out. But boundaries, real ones, are not walls. They're the doorways to self-respect. They are how we say, this is what's okay for me, this is what's not. They are not about punishment or rejection. They're about preservation, about clarity, about love, real love. Because love without boundaries becomes sacrifice. And sacrifice without choice becomes resentment. Setting boundaries isn't cruel. What's cruel is expecting yourself to give endlessly and then wondering why you're exhausted, bitter, or quietly breaking down. The truth is, boundaries are hard, especially for people who care deeply, for the empaths, the peacemakers, the helpers. Saying no can feel like failure, like you're letting someone down, like you're not enough. But that's where the bravery comes in. Because setting boundaries often means confronting your own fear of disapproval. It means tolerating the discomfort of disappointing others so that you don't abandon yourself. And that's no small thing. That's a radical act of courage. It's saying, I will not betray myself to keep the peace. It's reclaiming your right to exist as a whole person, not just a role or a resource. What no one tells you is that boundaries often get tested. People who benefited from your lack of limits may resist your new ones. They may question your change. They may even accuse you of being cold, selfish, or distant. And it will hurt, especially if you've built your identity on being the one who's always available. But here's what's also true. The people who truly love you, the ones who see you not just your service, they will adapt. They will learn your boundaries and honor them because they want the real you, not the burnt out version. Boundaries don't push the right people away, they filter the wrong ones out. There is also deep healing in learning that you don't need to explain every no. You don't need to defend your decisions with an essay. You are allowed to take space, change your mind, and protect your peace without offering proof that it's justified. That's emotional maturity. And the more you practice it, the less guilt you carry. Because guilt isn't always an indicator that you've done something wrong. Sometimes guilt just means you're doing something new, something necessary, something that honors you. So yes, boundaries are brave. They are the lines you draw not to control others, but to care for yourself. They teach the world how to treat you, but more importantly, they teach you how to treat you. And when you begin to live from that place where your needs matter, your time matters, your energy matters, you'll discover something profound. Peace isn't just something you stumble upon. It's something you protect. And boundaries are how you do that with grace, with honesty, and with love that includes you too. There's a pervasive myth in our world that growth is always visible, measurable, and fast. We're conditioned to believe that growth should be loud, achievements that make others take notice, milestones that we can post and share. But the truth is, the most profound growth happens quietly. It happens in the late nights when you're working on your craft, in the early mornings when you're choosing discipline over comfort, and in the moments of solitude when you confront your fears and doubts head on. Real growth doesn't need an audience. It's done in the spaces where no one else can see, when no one else is watching. It's an inside job done in the small daily choices that build a foundation for who you're becoming. We live in a society that is obsessed with results. We want immediate gratification. We want instant success, rapid transformation, and visible proof that we're on the right path. But growth isn't linear. It doesn't look like a straight line from point A to point B. Growth is more like a spiral where we move inward, then outward, then inward again, peeling back layers of who we thought we were to reveal who we are becoming. Each step is its own form of courage because we have to trust that the internal shifts we're making, those conversations with ourselves, the hard work behind closed doors, will eventually manifest on the outside. But there's no need to rush it. True transformation doesn't need to be seen right away. It's building on the inside first and foremost. Often, growth is uncomfortable. It requires us to face parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore. The old habits, the limiting beliefs, the stories we've been telling ourselves for years that no longer serve us. It takes courage to sit with discomfort, to let go of who we were in order to step into who we are becoming. And it's in that discomfort that the magic happens. That's where we learn, stretch, and build resilience. But none of that happens if we're constantly looking for external validation. If we're always seeking praise or approval, we miss the point of growth entirely. True growth is measured by how you feel inside, not by how many likes you get on a post or how loud the applause is. It's about finding the strength to keep going even when no one is watching. The beauty of internal growth is that it doesn't depend on anyone else's timeline, anyone else's expectations, or anyone else's approval. You get to define what growth looks like for you. You get to celebrate the small victories, the quiet moments where you show up for yourself, where you choose progress over perfection, where you choose healing over hiding. It's in these moments that we find our true power, not in the big announcements or the grand gestures. The work that matters most is the work you do on your own heart, on your own mind, in this stillness, when you are learning to trust your own path. So let go of the rush, let go of the need for immediate results, and know that your growth is unfolding perfectly, one quiet step at a time. In a world that thrives on grand announcements and social media bragging, there is something deeply powerful in allowing your success to whisper instead of shout. We're constantly told that in order to be seen, we have to be loud, bold, and in your face. But what if success didn't need a megaphone? What if it could be something subtle, something understated, yet still deeply impactful? The most meaningful accomplishments often emerge quietly without fanfare. They are the results of long, consistent effort, of work done in the silence where no one is looking. Letting your success whisper first means choosing to let your results speak for themselves without needing to explain or justify them. It's letting your hard work shine even when no one is there to witness it. When you allow success to whisper, it's an act of faith in your own process. It means trusting that the effort you're putting in today, those small, consistent actions, the early mornings, the late nights, the moment you stay focused even when no one notices, will eventually add up to something greater. Success isn't always about the loudest announcement or the biggest prize. Often it's about creating a quiet, lasting impact that others will recognize later. When you let your success whisper, you're giving yourself permission to take your time, to not rush the process, and to understand that some things take a long time to grow. You trust that the seeds you're planting now will eventually bear fruit, even if they aren't sprouting in the moment. There's also power in letting success whisper because it frees you from the constant pressure to perform. The loudest voices in your life may be telling you that if you aren't constantly promoting yourself, if you aren't publicly sharing every step of your journey, you'll be left behind. But that's not true. The most resilient and steady success comes from a place of groundedness and quiet confidence. You don't need to announce every move you make. You don't need to validate your worth through the eyes of others. Instead, let your work be your message. Let it be the testimony of your growth, your effort, and your vision. When the time is right, when the world is ready, your success will be seen and it will have its own resonance. And when that happens, it will speak far louder than any announcement ever could.